And we're live.
Tim Arrowood here, People's Home Equity. Hey, thank you all for coming today.
Hey, Allie, that's mine. I'm kidding, Dave.
So, what is going on in real estate? Anything exciting? Huh? You? What's going on in real estate? Anything good? I don't know, but I don't remember.
I told you I was finding lenders that are giving kickbacks to other agents.
Oh. Oh yeah. That's right. She was saying that some lenders are trying to move people to other realtors. So anybody else experience that? No. Lenders are trying to move people to other realtors, like Rock Mortgage and Redfin. Yeah. So
What would be the purpose of doing that?
They're giving closing costs to the buyers or the sellers to use their preferred agents. So the people are like, well, it saves me $3,000 to use one of their agents instead of using you.
Wow.
So I suspect it's I'm picking on Rocket because they have a real estate arm, right? So if you're partnered with them, then that means that if you're going to get the leads from Rocket, then you're going to have to it has to be a referral through their real estate referral, I think is the way it is. So that now you've got to pay. The reason they have money to give is because they're getting it from you, right? Yeah. So I've had a few where people had started with me, and actually no, they started with an agent and they were working with Rocket, and the Rocket LO said, hey, if you work with this other realtor, then we can give you the kickback. And so the agent that referred them to me is like, how do I save this? So I spent quite a bit of time on the phone with the borrower explaining, what it means to have a team, local people, and all those things. So yeah, that's a little. So first of all, you don't have to worry about me referring to somebody else. So I do a lot of things, but I don't do that. What happened to my? Well, I didn't bring all my stuff. So what else is going on? Joey, what else is going on, Mr. Broker? What's going on? Real estate. Yeah, you weren't paying attention, were you?
I was paying attention.
Yeah, to the baby.
That's it.
Yeah.
But I heard you say Rocket Mortgage trying to steal clients to send them to other
agents. So what are the challenges that you guys are seeing right now? Still in inventory? Is it balancing? Is it starting to balance out a little bit more? No? Yes? No?
I don't know, like yesterday, Monday, there was like 30 properties that came on the market, like new. But then like today and yesterday, there were like 10, maybe 12. So I was like, then I check it like every hour because I'm like, this is not what they want. This is not what they want.
Right.
But I feel like it's very tight because if you get with a seller, like one, they have high expectations of, hey, let's list this way over, what we actually think it's worth for the sell for. You try to explain what the market is. Some sellers get it. Like some sellers see that and they know maybe they have someone who's bought and sold or whatever recently. But then some sellers are like, no, like this is what I need for it. And then when you get offers that come in that are lower, but these buyers are like very stingy right now and like, want to get what they want because it's so high, then they're not accepting those offers. And usually your first offers are one of the best offers. So I actually had a buyer who like made an offer on a condo in Kingsport, really nice, and like they got 3 other offers that were contingent on the sale of their home, and she wasn't accepting any of them. I was like, you're not gonna get anything else. So I'm like, we'll go higher, we'll do this, we'll do that. I threw all of that at her, and she's like, no, not at this time. And now it's been 2 weeks on the market, it's still not under contract. So I'm like, you're gonna take this. So it's very tight. I'm very, yeah.
So from people looking to buy property, there's a little bit more inventory, but not. They're still just being picky, or they're just not what they're
not selling.
They're not selling. Oh, yeah. Okay. So they're like, this is what I want. I'm going to get it.
Yeah, I don't want to overpay.
Yeah. Okay.
They're paying high interest rates.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay.
But it's like certain things, like maybe it doesn't have an extra garage space, or it's not in the location that they want, but it's like a perfect house, but not in the right location. And then you wait, and they're like, okay, maybe we'll go back to this, and it's under contract.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So
what do you see?
Yeah. I have the buyers that are off, like, when they see a house that's been sitting on the market for like a week, which is different
separate, you know?
Right.
They want to offer way less than asking, and then the sellers don't want to come down at all because they still think they can get over asking.
Right.
And then they end up just sitting there.
Okay. So one of the things I was going to talk about today is trying to build some inventory. And I know we've talked about this before. Renovation loans really is what we're talking about. So the idea that somebody's looking for something that's not exactly what they want, then you can't make inventory. I did have a meeting with a builder in Greenville yesterday actually, and we got some new nice stuff coming on. And we're talking about that they're nervous about interest rates, right? 7.5, might go to 8, who knows? So, but they're talking to me about, well, how can we do some incentives for interest rate, right? How about a 2-1 buy down, a 3-1 buy down, those type of things. So, trying to build something to get some attention. So if they could market a 5.5% rate, then people go, oh, now then you got to explain to them what a 2-1 buy down is. Have I talked about a 2-1 buy down before? You guys know what a 2-1 buy down? Okay. So that might be something if you've got something to move, from a listing standpoint. It's really just a concession that happens to be called a 2-1 buy down. But so what I was thinking about is, simply from the standpoint of trying to build some inventory. If you've got somebody, and I use that's they want a place that maybe they want that chef's kitchen, but they just can't find that particular thing, or they're looking at maybe some distressed properties, a place that needs a roof. Like I don't know if it's still on the market, but there was a duplex in Bristol. A tree had fallen on the house, on it, and so I don't know if it's still on the market. But right, there's only so many types of people that can buy that. But if you had a renovation loan, put a new roof on, remodel, you can do remodels on the property itself. Now, if you're buying it as a primary, that's one thing. It's a little weird to do that as an investment property. But those are the type of things that I'm trying to think of ways that we can help our buyers find, just increase the income. So, you can't make the lot bigger, right? But you could put a fence around the lot, with some money. You could do a renovation on a kitchen. Yes, you in the back.
Does this work vice versa? Say if you have a seller that wants to do an addition, then sell, like do maybe a refinance or something?
We could do that. Yeah, you could do a refinance. Probably the best course of that would be if they've got escrow in the property. If they got equity in the property, then that would be the cheapest money they can get for short term. They would get a home equity line of credit to be able to do the addition or the renovation or the painting or pulling out the shag carpet or whatever that would be, and then use that money to do that. And then that makes the most sense. Now, typically, I'd be glad to do a refinance, cash out to do that, but the cost of that transaction is just generally more expensive. So unless there's a possibility that they may like it so much that they just keep it, after that. So I'm sure you guys have watched, what's it called, Unsellable Homes. You heard that? Seen that on HGTV? So there's a house been on the market for a while and it's not moving, and these realtors come in and they say, we'll put $60,000 in it. We'll risk our $60,000 to fix it out, and then we split the difference between what we have in it and what it sells for with you. So if it sells for $20,000 more than what we thought it was going to sell for, then we get 10 and you get 10, as a seller. So, which is a neat concept. It's risky, you gotta know what you're doing, but there's a lot of houses that just need some TLC. Again, pulling out the shag carpet, putting in some flooring, paint, those types of things. So, I guess what I'm getting at is you're talking to buyers, the thought is that, if they are exhausted the inventory that's out there, then it might be said, well, why don't we talk about, that house we looked at that had the, whatever it is, it had the bad roof, or it needed a heat pump, or those are, mechanical things that you would take care of. But then we've got, maybe it needs a kitchen. We've got one of our renovation loans. It's a conventional renovation loan that if they're working with Home Depot or Lowe's, then we don't have to have a general contractor. So those guys can act as that. So you can walk into Lowe's and say you do a $60,000 kitchen, then Lowe's is the contractor. We build it in and they just put it in the kitchen, right? So instead of buying a place and then going into the Home Depot after and saying, I'm going to get a line of credit at 18% or 24%, whatever it is, then build it into it. And so you have the cash to be able to do that. So, do you guys, one of the trainings we have for selling this is to go on the MLS and look at, or the MLS, or just go on Zillow and search for TLC, you know, keywords that an agent would put in that would indicate that it's a little rough. And so then we can go into those properties and, you know, we could do some quick budgeting for what it would cost. And so, and actually put together a brochure that says, hey, if you replace this kitchen and you spent this much, then we could do this, we could do that. So if you have any listings that are a little rough, you know, we could look at that and put together some marketing material specifically for a house that, again, maybe you know it needs a roof. You know, somebody trucked the heat pump. You know, the house that Paul bought on the cat urine when you walked in, that everybody else walked away.
I remember this story from that.
Yeah, oh, it was bad. You know, it's like most people just walk away, but it's like you push through a little bit. It's like, I think there's something we can do in this place. You know, my eyes watering and things like that. But you know, we were able to finance that ourselves. But not only did it smelled terrible, the heat pump was broken. It was 30 years old. What else was it? Well, it just, you know, it was just stuck in the, you know, 30 years old or whatever it was. So, but that would be one thing. Is like, okay, if it needs, we can identify that it needs a heat pump. That's going to be $8,500, and we have what kind of bounce? Oh, it's not real. It's like, so you can't see the plate. Oh, I tripped.
Just let her hug it, Mama.
So, but those would be some things that, you know, as you have listings and or somebody's looking at, you know, at buying a place. So, all right,
How is renovations? Are they any different from like conventional, like all that, like different credit scores? Like what is it to qualify for?
So there's two different types. There's a conventional version and there's an FHA version. The FHA version is called a 2 and 3K. You may have heard that number, that phrase. It's just the code in the FHA thing. So the way it would work is that if you qualify basically for an FHA loan or a conventional loan, then you would be able to, let me say this. So you would qualify the same way. We would look, let's say the property's 200 and you need to put 250 in it, or put 50 in it. Then they're going to have to be able to qualify for the new 250, right? What will happen is there'll be two appraisals. There'll be an appraisal that says the house is worth X right now. So yes, the as-is value is 200. And we have to have a scope of work. So like if it is just simply a kitchen, then you would say, well, you know, if this kitchen is, you know, $45,000 and we have a bid for it, there's some drawings for it. So we would give that to the appraiser, and then we'd say, well, here's the after repaired value. It's going to be worth about 250. You know, when you do that, or whatever the numbers would be, make it work. Then, so they would say, okay, we'll do that deal. They have to qualify for the bigger amount, and then we have to have scope of work, and we give that to the appraiser. And so at that point, we would close on the house. We would pay for the house. You would get paid at closing. Then there would be draws associated with doing the renovation. And you have a certain amount of time. If it's under a certain dollar amount, then you have a shorter period of time. If it's over another larger dollar amount, then you have more time, up to 6 months, I think, to do some of those renovations. So, I mean, at that point, you're done with your job as an agent. We just have to make sure that that we've got the work is done properly. And then once it is completed, then we would send out an inspector and say, yes, it was done. And you not only is the client happy, but it is as we were told it would be. And then the rest of that money is funded. They've already closed on the loan, but you know they're so did that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. And again, there are some little deals that we can do. Like if it's under, I think it's $35,000. It's called an express, and there might be like 2 draws, you know, because you're going to do some simple things. But if, you know, technically what you can do is if the house had burned and there was only a foundation, we could build a new house on top of that existing foundation and call it a renovation, right? So
Actually, well, never mind.
You can really?
yeah, there has to be an existing footprint. There has to be existing foundation. or you could do
What
an
if
addition.
I say that, but I had a ex-client of mine, their house burned down, and they were either thinking of rebuilding, but the insurance company said that the basement, I guess, had taken too much damage.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have to rebuild a whole new basement.
Right.
So instead of that, I think they went like the double wide route, putting that on the property now.
Yeah. So, again, I'm just thinking about tools in your toolbox as you're talking to buyers and talking to sellers. How can we help move these things? So, it's probably going to be few and far between that you're going to run into, but, you never know. Let's see. It needs to be done by a licensed and insured contractor. So that's, a lot of folks will say, well, I wanted to do the work myself. Well, that's just not going to work. So, no, again.
What if you're licensed and insured?
It depends on the program. Sometimes you can do the work yourself. Probably if you're, like, we were talking about doing a VA construction loan the other day, and I'm told by the rules the VA says is that Lincoln could, as a veteran, he could build new construction himself using his, since he's licensed and insured and he's a veteran, he could build, I told him he could build a duplex and live in one side, right? Because you're going to be using the VA benefit to do a primary residence. So he could build a duplex, live in one side for a year, and then he's got 100% financing on investment property and very little money out of pocket. So those are some things that they could do. Now with these programs, generally, there's no self-help. Now what would end up happening is that if you were licensed and insured, you probably have a buddy that's licensed and insured. So you get him to be the general, and then you do the work under him. He subs it all out to you. So those are things that we don't want to know about, but I would imagine that would be something that would happen. So let's see what else. Could be for a primary, a secondary, and investment property. Well, I should have read my brochure before I came here. Single-family, multi-unit, manufactured homes are eligible. Wow. Tell you what, there's a lot of manufactured homes. We're seeing all kinds of stuff. We've closed 2 single wides in the last 3 months. Never dreamed I would do single wides. So I thought the hard part would be the property, but what I realized is the borrower. There's this particular borrower that's comfortable with buying a single wide. And sometimes their finances are a little jacked up. So, not always. We can go down to a 580 credit score, right? Obviously, the lower the score, the more expensive everything's going to be, but that might be something that would be interesting to everybody. And this is on the choice. These are would be Freddie Mac. I mean, you don't really care, but it's a conventional loan. You got Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. This is a Freddie Mac. So I've got some brochures there. I will leave those for you. And I don't know, any questions?
Renovations, baby.
Renovations, baby. So I don't know. I think it. A lot of people don't have a vision. So if you have a listing, a lot of people don't have a vision of what the house would look like. My wife walks in and is like, oh, I don't like that paint color. Walks out. I'm like, you can paint anything, right? And so I don't like that shag carpet. Of course. I mean, I don't love it either. But so if you could have, you could go to Lowe's and take them the plan of the kitchen, and they're going to do you a drawing. They're going to do give you a price, do all that stuff for you, and then you got that laid on the, when you have an open house or something like that. And say, here's what this looks like. Here's a renovation brochure. You got to be careful. Don't show it to the current owner because they're like, you don't like my kitchen. Other people have different tastes, right? Some people like doors on their cabinets. Some people like to have, they're not sticky. Right? Nothing like sticky.
Some people like to clean.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
So that's all I got. So thank you all for
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, we're going to celebrate
Going to celebrate October birthdays today.
September and October.
Just October. We skipped last.